The Flurry Sports Fantasy Football Show is back. Here to help you win your weeks like we did last year. We got a bunch of good insight that comes from this show every single week. I'm Zach Bruner. Luke Reimer, Trevor Land is here. Luke is a half a tooth down this week. But we push on. He took the Pirate League to heart. He went fully bought in, just knocking basically everything out that he could.
It was tough weekend, up north, and first day up there, bam, hit with the Frisbee, tooth popped out. I'm like, oh shit. Couldn't eat well, couldn't drink well. Still can't eat well. I got 2 huge cuts on both sides of my lips because I bit it when I got hit.
Right.
So it's hard to get anything in anything going because it just stings. But a perfect time for me to chip my tooth. I'm getting my wisdom teeth out on Friday. So so the dentist will have something to say, I'm sure, on Friday.
Nah, don't let him. Keep it going.
Yeah.
Keep my chipped tooth going?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do it to a few more, and then like Halloween comes around, you can just paint yourself orange. We can have a jack-o'-lantern on the Halloween show or something. That'd be pretty cool. If you didn't watch on Wednesday nights last year, we basically go through my rankings. My rankings were just posted on flurrysports.org this afternoon, and we will talk through the rankings, but more importantly, we will compare the rankings to the consensus at Fantasy Pros using half PPR scoring because that's how they grade everything. If you have PPR or standard scoring questions, definitely tweet them at me. We can answer them live on the show here. But we can see who we are higher or lower on compared to the rest of the industry. That's always interesting. I haven't looked ahead of time, but I mean, like last year it was Logan Thomas, Cole Beasley, Russell Gage every week. And if you look back, they all finished high. Don't know why they weren't unowned, but we were telling you every week to start them. And that's why we were responsible for a bunch of fantasy championships.
I just want to say right off the bat before we start, Trevor, what jersey we got going on tonight?
So let me ask you guys a question. What do you think of when you think of the Dallas Mavericks?
JJ Barea.
Shawn Marion.
Wrong. Harrison Barnes.
Oh, I love it.
Harrison Barnes, baby. The best high-profile free agent to ever land in Dallas. You heard it here first. Dude was, I went to one game against the Wizards, and they were like the worst team in the league. Dude was an absolute bucket, okay?
Yeah.
Still is. Absolute bucket. North Carolina alum.
Mm-hmm.
Goated. Best player the Mavericks have had since, I don't know, Dirk. So
Since their franchise started.
There's few players you could have said that would have made me angry. And I think Harrison Barnes is just like so random and mediocre that's like so pointless. I don't like it at all.
Yeah, says the Timberwolves fan. You sit down with your mediocre, okay?
No, we're not mediocre. We're terrible. And that's something that's admirable. Every year it's consistent.
So then you should love Harrison Barnes because you should wish he granted your team with his presence.
Agreed.
We got Patrick Beverly. There was posts today about him in the T-Wolves uniform. Fire emojis everywhere because we got Pat Bev. We're going to be playing solid defense. Also not a Timberwolves fan. I don't like NBA anymore. I just like 3 players basically, and that's about it. I like making money off the NBA. Don't need to watch it. Luke, Miami. Oh, no.
That's Tyler Hero, I swear.
Fuck no.
Okay, yeah, that's kind of what I was worried about.
Oh, it's Dwayne Wade. Okay, good.
Yeah.
I don't even like Dwayne Wade.
Okay.
That's
rude. But I like the jersey.
You could have got anybody else's jersey. You know that, right?
Yeah, but who else?
Could have got Haslam.
Yeah, I don't
Bam.
like that either.
Haslam. Okay, Haslam, we got to respect. Bam.
Yeah.
Could have had him.
I don't
Could have
really
had Duncan Robinson.
No, I don't really like them. But they got cool jerseys.
They do have some nice jerseys. I do like them. Okay.
So do the Mavs, but besides what? Look at this. Look at the skyline of Dallas. That is beautiful.
Oh,
and then you add in the number
iconic.
40 for Harrison Barnes. Oh, 10 out of 10.
40 is an underrated basketball number.
Is it?
It is. Because of Harrison Barnes alone.
Fair enough. Let's get to not NBA. Let's get to fantasy football here.
We can, but
NBA. I was reminded on a business call yesterday. They're like, our NBA contests are going up this week. I'm like, Jesus Christ! Like NBA is coming back in like a month. I'm not ready for it.
You ain't ready for the Bucs repeat, baby.
Neither's Bud. Sure. Okay, let's get to quarterbacks here, starting with our quarterback rankings, top 5. I'll read them off. These guys will tell me if they disagree with any of them. I will definitely go through who they are playing, just because we are definitely transitioning to the NFL, and it's tough to figure out the schedule right away. Then we will compare who we like to the rest of the industry, but starting with QB1, playing at the Raiders, Monday Night Football. This guy seems like he has a big game every week 1. I have Lamar Jackson playing the Raiders there. Quarterback 2, I have Kyler Murray at the Titans. Quarterback 3, Patrick Mahomes versus the Browns. 4 is Josh Allen versus the Steelers. And 5, tomorrow night, Thursday Night Football, I have Tom Brady versus the Cowboys in front of a home Tampa Bay crowd for the first time. Do you guys disagree with any of those 5?
I don't think so. Week 1, I kind of said it in my Survivor article, but I feel like week 1 is just kind of a feeling out. It doesn't hurt to have the better quarterbacks top of your list, because it seems like they're the ones who are going to get you the most points without knowing anything else that's coming through the season.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that I'd kind of look at is Allen at 4 and Aaron Rodgers at 6. But to your point, I mean, we don't know. Like, Pittsburgh's defense was great last year. Something could be wrong this year. Like, we just don't know. And with his ability to get a lot of rushing touchdowns, that kind of puts you over the top too. So it's going to be an interesting week 1 for sure.
Yeah, Allen was tough. Like, I don't necessarily love that Steelers matchup. I like that he plays at home. I like that he plays at home for a Buffalo crowd that they haven't had anything to cheer about. They weren't here the entire season last year. It's going to be fucking wild.
Yeah.
So that's why I put him there. But yeah, Aaron Rodgers, again, he's another tricky one. Like, would it surprise you if he went out and passed for 200 yards and 3 touchdowns, which is a great game probably, but not good for fantasy. So that's what he makes me a little bit nervous there. I'm not sure if you have the rankings in front of you. If anyone listening, go to flurrysports.org. It'll be the first one. But going down the rankings, is there anybody that jumps out at you that you want to talk about?
The one off the top of my head is Jalen Hurts at 9.
Okay.
It's against Atlanta, so it's a great. I think in my mind, it's a great warm up game for Jalen Hurts for the year. But just seeing him at the end of the last year, it didn't surprise or it didn't get me going or anything. I think the guy still has a lot of improvement. So I think I'm really interested to see how he does against Atlanta. Like I said, it's a good warm up game for him. But I think this will be a start to what he's going to be for maybe this year and even maybe the rest of his career.
I'm intrigued with Herbert at 13. He had obviously a really good rookie season. He's got all preseason to get better. I mean, remember, he was not supposed to even be the starter last year. New coach, new offensive scheme. And they're playing Washington, who is a great defense. That's going to be a really good test, really good barometer for me. If he fails, it doesn't mean his season's over, obviously. But, if they can show some firepower, I mean, man, this team is really going to be a trouble to hold because that Washington defense is very good.
Starting with Jalen Hurts, then we can touch on Herbert, especially because there's a good transition to running backs. But Jalen Hurts, it would not surprise me in the slightest if he was a top 3 quarterback this week. And this is like one of those weird games where I'm definitely going to have exposure to for DFS if I'm game stacking, because it's going to be fairly cheap, I think. And this is one of those games where these defenses suck. And if Jalen Hurts has any success throwing the football, the running game's going to be there for him. Matt Ryan probably can decimate the Eagles secondary. This could turn super high scoring. Jalen Hurts could be scoring multiple touchdowns with his legs, passing for a couple. On the flip side, I also don't think he's a very good quarterback. So, I mean, I think running kind of gives him a high enough floor. But if you say he's also quarterback 20, that also wouldn't surprise me. So I do not want to be starting him this week if I own him. But a lot of people are sort of stuck with doing so. But he does have that upside. Herbert sucks this week, man. Like, I like him as a player. I think Mike Williams sucks as a player. Austin Eckler is already hurt with a hamstring and didn't practice today. So, like, is he going to be out already week 1? Surprise, surprise. Here we go for the rest of the season. And if he doesn't have Eckler, I think this is going to be a tough game for the Chargers to win. I just think that Washington defense is legit. And if you're saying Justin Jackson has to be running against that front seven to keep the defense honest, I don't think that's going to happen. And I also, who is it? Joe Lombardi? Is that his name?
Yeah.
The offensive coordinator. He sucks. Like, let's stop hyping him up. He fails everywhere he goes. Like, he's a fine position coach, but stop acting like he's going to go there and they're going to go crazy, because it's not going to happen.
And I think you nailed it too right there. Mike Williams is a guy, maybe we'll talk about when we get to receivers, but Mike Williams is a guy who every year is like, this is a Mike Williams year. This is a Mike Williams year. Right. It's never going to be Mike Williams year. He sucks at football. He's not a good receiver. People got to have to get that out of their mind, because he was good coming out of college, but what has he been in the league 3-4 years now? He hasn't turned out to anything ever.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. The thing I think you guys are discounting, though, is the Chargers and doing the exact opposite of what they should do. All of last year, losing every single game they should have won. This year, winning a game they have no business winning, and Joe Lombardi looking good. So
it's possible. It's possible. Logan, I see your question. I'll get to that when we get to running backs in a second here. Doesn't this seem like a game where it's super low scoring, not because the defense has played well, but both offenses were terrible? Like, I could see Ryan Fitzpatrick throwing 2 interceptions. I could see Herbert just having a super inefficient day. Like, if I'm, from a DFS perspective, I'm staying away from this game on all accounts. I really don't like it at all. I think that Chargers defense could be legit as well under Staley. Getting Derwin James back, he's very, very good at football. Looking at my rankings compared to the rest of the industry for quarterbacks, I have Matt Ryan at 11, which is 3 spots higher than the consensus. I talked about how that's a sneaky shootout spot. This one I don't get. I have Ben Roethlisberger at 18, which I thought was low. That's 3 spots higher than the consensus. I'm not afraid of him against that Buffalo defense. I don't think that Buffalo defense is that good. This is going to be the healthiest Ben is the entire year, so I think this is the game you want to play him. And then I have Teddy Bridgewater at 23, which is 6 spots higher than the consensus, playing the Giants. Giants don't scare me. Pat Shurmur's offense is basically throwing to a wide open player every single time. Teddy can do that. I think he's going to be a consistent, decent, but not good quarterback the entire year, which is what 23 screams to me. And then I'll say who I'm lower on quick, and then you guys can jump in with what you think of this whole entire group. But I'm lower on Baker Mayfield. I have him at 21 against the Chiefs. Consensus has him at 17. And then Jimmy Garoppolo against the Lions, I have him at 25, which is 3 spots lower. My thought with that is there's rumors about Trey Lance being that red zone guy, sort of what Taysom Hill did. I mean, he's more mobile, can move the pocket a little bit. So that scares me. If Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be coming off the field in the red zone, I definitely hate that for fantasy. And then on top of that, it's the Lions, and I think the 49ers should be able to run all over him. I don't think Garoppolo needs to have a great game. So I don't need to touch him this week at all. But Luke, starting with you, for any of these guys who I'm higher or lower on, do you agree, disagree, find something weird?
You hit the nail on the head with what I was going to say there. I absolutely love Ben Roethlisberger this week. Just for the fact that, the dude's like 850 years old, and he's still out there playing, and he's still out there slinging. This is maybe going to be the only game where he's fully healthy, doesn't have a knee, back, head, shoulder injury all at the same time. So I would imagine that Steelers come out and throw 50, 60 times, I would say, especially with how good that Josh Allen played last year. That Buffalo offense is pretty damn good. So I think the Steelers could be in a position playing from behind here, and there's nobody who seems to like to sling it more than Ben Roethlisberger.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I worry about is that they can't block for their run game, and then they just sit back in coverage for the Bills. But the Pittsburgh will be playing from behind anyways, so even if that does happen, they'll be throwing. he's not going to be like a Jameis Winston coming from behind throwing 20 touchdowns and 10 receptions. But, when you have him listed at 18, I think you'd be pressed to find 17 guys that are going to outperform him this week.
Right. I don't have I should look up like what a quarterback 18 typically scores, but I would say Ben Roethlisberger scores 20 fantasy points, which is a decent day. He's probably around quarterback 15 would be my guess, that or higher. So, and that's easily attainable.
Getting 20 points too, especially as a quarterback who isn't being drafted in fantasy leagues, is pretty nice.
Yeah, 100%. People are way too low on Ben right now, and I don't get it because it's going to be a spread offense. They're going to be whipping it around constantly. To Trevor's point, I mean, they're going to be getting the ball out of his hands quickly because the offensive line isn't very good. I think this is a good matchup because the Bills' front seven isn't great either. But Najee Harris is a great receiver. They were working him out as a receiver to make sure he can fill that role. Deandre Johnson is someone who everyone's way too low on. He's very good. Juju. They still got Chase Claypool. Two good tight ends in Ebron. Whatever you want to say about Ebron, he's a decent tight end. And then Freiermuth. I don't know what there is to dislike about Ben Roethlisberger other than he's slightly injury prone and he's not injured right now. So stop hating on him. Anything else to say about quarterbacks before we go to running backs?
I just wanted to bring up one quick Sam Darnold. You have him at 19 here. Do you guys think that, him playing, this isn't necessarily for this week, but just in general, him being in Carolina, I seem to think that's a good change of scenery for him. I mean, they surround him with weapons. They have two offensive masterminds, a coach and offensive coordinator. So I know a lot of people are down on Sam Darnold just from the Jets, but it's hard to be great on the Jets. So I think this move to Carolina, I mean, he couldn't have gone to a better spot than than Carolina.
I agree. I mean, he already has a rapport with Robbie Anderson, which is a big deal. I mean, he already has a go-to guy if he needs it. To your point, anybody is an upgrade over Adam Gase, but he happens to go to an actual good offense. It's going to be spread. I don't think Sam Darnold's a good quarterback, but I don't think you need to be a good quarterback to succeed there, at least to the point where you're not losing games.
Right, with Robbie Anderson, DJ Moore, Christian McCaffrey, and Terrence Marshall, just don't lose in the game is what I think Sam Darnold needs to do.
Well, I mean, he could get 100 passing yards from dumping it off at Christian McCaffrey 6 times.
Right, he could get once from dumping off to Christian McCaffrey.
Fair. Let's go to running backs here. Speaking of Christian McCaffrey, I have him number 1 versus the Jets. Again, this is half PPR scoring. I have Dalvin Cook at the Bengals at number 2, Derrick Henry at home versus the Cardinals for 3, Alvin Kamara at a neutral location against the Packers at 4, and then same game, Aaron Jones at 5. Trevor, what do you think about those 5?
Kind of like what we had with the tight ends last year. It's they're not head and shoulders above everybody else, but I don't think there's any question that these are the top 5, however you want to rank them, whatever, but it's the top 5, and there's really no debating that.
I wonder how much, I know we tune in for after the show for Lombardi Sweep, but I wonder how much Aaron Jones is going to be using the passing game on Sunday. Starting 2 rookies on the offensive line, Saints have a decent pass rush. It seems to me like Matt LaFleur might go a little bit like we were just talking with the Steelers and try to dump it to Aaron Jones on some screen plays, some swing routes, just something like that. So, in my mind, he grabbed some points too with receptions here.
Fully agree. And I would assume he would get more looks in the passing game than A.J. Dillon. I don't think that's a wild assumption to say that between the two of them. I'm interested to see how much they do give Kylan Hill for snaps, just because he does seem to be great in the passing game. But yeah, Aaron Jones for sure. Really quick, Rucker Smith 101. Who should I start? Justin Herbert or Jalen Hurts? I said Jalen Hurts. I have Hurts at 9, Herbert at 13. Do either of you disagree with that?
I don't think that I disagree with that. I know I was just kind of putting Jalen Hurts down, but just on that matchup alone, I feel like this is just where they can experiment with Jalen Hurts a little bit. That'll lead to some long runs, some long passes. Devontae Smith is there too, so that could be an 80-yard touchdown anytime he's on the field.
If Eckler's in the game, I'm taking Herbert. If not, Hurts. I just think you have to, it's really close, obviously, because that Washington defense is very good. I think you have to take the best player, and the best quarterback, receiver, and running back would all be on the Chargers compared to Philly.
That's fair. And I would assume you drafted Justin Herbert before Jalen Hurts. So, I mean, I typically default to start your studs. Like, you drafted them for a reason at that spot. So if you are thinking it's fully even, I would lean towards the better player, which undoubtedly is Justin Herbert. But yeah, going back to the running backs here, I fully agree with Aaron Jones with getting some dump offs. Alvin Kamara, they just released Latavius Murray. Tony Jones gets an upgrade. He seems to be in that role now. But is it wild to say that he could get 30 touches?
I was going to say something that I don't think it'd be wild for him to get 10 catches this year or this week.
100%. Who else? We'll get to Marquez Callaway, who I like, but then who? Like, it's him. There's nobody else.
Yeah, sheer volume alone could put Alvin Kamara number one this week.
Going down the list, the only person I really want to highlight, I think, I'll do two really quick. Miles Sanders has been getting a ton of hate in drafts and stuff like that. His ADP goes lower and lower. Questions about his workload early in his career is obvious, and I think it's going to be the same thing this year. I don't think he gets a huge workload, but I do think, much like Ben Roethlisberger, who this is the healthiest he's going to be, this is the healthiest Eagles offensive line is going to be, and they're a very good offensive line when they're actually on the field. Also, Atlanta's defense, especially that front seven, is terrible. Like, there's going to be no pass rush, and I think the Eagles should be able to create 10-yard running lane for Miles Sanders, for Hurts, for anybody. So I think Miles Sanders has just as good of a chance to score a touchdown as anybody this week. And, like, oh, by the way, I think he probably gets 100 yards. Playing inside, too, in dome, that helps running backs. I like him quite a bit. And then ahead of him, I guess, I have Raheem Mostert at 15. John Lynch said a few weeks ago now at this point that they view Mostert as the lead guy. They drafted Trey Sermon to back him up, and I'm inclined to believe him. And Mostert's going to get the first crack at it, and he's always been very good for San Francisco when he's healthy. Again, we keep going back to when these players are healthy. All these players have been getting knocked in drafts because of their injury history. Start them then when they're healthy, and Mostert's healthy right now, and he plays the Lions, who he's going to absolutely destroy. So I have him at 15. You probably drafted him as your RB3 or 4, and I think you need to start him this week.
Yeah, the Lions suck. Their defense sucks. Their offense sucks. It seems to me that San Francisco is going to get up big right away by running the ball. And I think Mostert does a lot of that. He's got that speed to take off for those long rushes. Plus, this may be a situation where he gets taken out come halftime to just run Trey Sermon a little bit. But I think Mostert will get you enough of what you need from your running back 2, 3, or flex player in the first half alone. I'm thinking like 75 yards a touchdown, maybe by the middle of the second quarter.
Yeah, this is why I picked the 49ers in a Survivor League to beat the Lions. Because, first of all the other games are like somewhat could be competitive. This one won't be, because this running attack is very good behind Mostert. And even if they don't run, he's probably going to get some good checkdowns here or there, and they really won't have to do much. I think it could look very similar to when they beat the Packers in the NFC Championship game, to be honest. Maybe not that bad, but certainly possible.
Definitely possible. Again, playing in a dome, everyone's a little bit faster. And Raheem Mostert, no, it's Breda who clocked the fastest time, like, plays, but Mostert breaks off long plays consistently. He's probably going to break a 30, 40-yard run for a touchdown in this game, because it's the Lions. They're terrible. I get Dan Campbell has made this team a little bit tougher, but he wasn't that great of a football player either. So I don't think he's going to make them suddenly great at football.
Unless he starts injecting them with his 40-ounce coffees with the 5 shots of espresso every day.
Yeah, that's right. Any other running backs you guys specifically want to talk about before I compare these rankings?
I don't know. Did you want to touch on Logan's question on James Robinson?
Yeah. Just opinions on James Robinson. Obviously, he was a surprise last year and super good for the Jaguars, despite that defense or offensive line being pretty shitty. They brought back every single one of them. So as much as people want to hate on Trevor Lawrence for how bad that offensive line is, clearly it didn't matter to James Robinson last year. I do think people are hating on the Texans too much. I have suddenly come full circle on them. I think their defense is going to be respectable. I have him at running back 10 this week. I think he's going to be a workhorse for them. I don't see them giving like Carlos Hyde carries, like a ton of carries or anything. So I think he's one of the true bell cows that this league has this year. And I think he's an RB1, but I'm not saying this is the prime matchup where he's going to go 150 yards and 2 touchdowns or anything.
Yeah, I think it helps to have a bell cow running back as your first quarterback or your quarterback in franchise. Your franchise quarterback starts his first game for him, so it can't hurt. And I think this is a close game. I think Houston with Tyrod Taylor. Tyrod Taylor's not going to turn the ball over. He never has his whole career. So I think this may be a low-scoring game, and I think this may be a running back game. James Robinson got involved in the pass a lot last year too, especially down by the goal line and those out routes and those swing passes. So it seems like that would be the case here, just getting Trevor Lawrence involved with the game a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think this could be possibly like a less shocking version of when Jacksonville beat the Colts last year. Like Tyrod Taylor doesn't turn it over. So if the Jaguars get in trouble, I don't know what they're going to do. It's also one of the most interesting running back rooms I think I've seen in a long time. James Robinson, Carlos Hyde, Dare Ogunbowale, Duke Johnson somehow shows up. ETN was drafted in the first round. Granted, he's out. But it's just like it kind of reminds me of the Texans backfield. Like they're just throwing a ton of pieces at it. Granted, James Robinson is better, but if they get behind, they're certainly going to be throwing the rock, and I can see them trying to rely on, Lawrence too much. It is Meyer, so he probably will do something very stupid most of the game.
Couple points, like to throw another wrench into that backfield. I think Duke Johnson might be practice squad, but one person who is active roster is a Zigbo, who we haven't really seen play, but he was the guy who was supposed to start ahead of James Robinson last year that everyone was super high on.
I thought it was Raquel Armstead last year.
Both of them. Armstead, and then Zigbo got COVID and then was never heard from again. So I don't know if he's any good. I guess I didn't hear his name in the preseason. I need to go look to see what he did. But he might be better than Carlos Hyde. Like I feel okay making that bold prediction. So he might get some carries. But I like James Robinson. I think he's proved more than capable of being a bell cow back last year. We got another question here from at Far Runner Matt for running backs here. Kareem Hunt or Mike Davis? Let's just talk in terms of half PPR or PPR, since that's what we're talking about here. In half PPR this week, I have Kareem Hunt at RB28 at Chiefs, which I feel is too low, but I didn't know who I want to put him ahead of. And then I have Mike Davis at RB19, again, versus Philadelphia. I will say the Eagles front seven is pretty tough, but I think Mike Davis is another one of those guys where he seems to be a bell cow. I think they have Cordero Patterson listed as their RB2 right now, and that doesn't scare me in the slightest. So I think he's going to be given every opportunity to get 20 touches, and until he fails, I think they're going to continue to do that. So I think the workload's there. I'm going to go with him. Kareem Hunt is just, workload. Who knows what it is? PPR scoring, he's valued higher. It's the revenge game, so that's kind of why I want to put him higher. But, I mean, looking at my rankings, you guys can answer this question too, but just looking at my rankings with Kareem Hunt specifically, who would you put him higher than? Like, I would love to put him higher than Josh Jacobs, but I don't feel comfortable doing it.
I would put him ahead of Josh Jacobs and Daryl Henderson. Josh Jacobs is a great running back. Too bad Gruden does whatever he can to get 20 running backs in that room and give everybody two touches. Like, that's just frustrating. And then Daryl Henderson, too. I mean, he's never been effective. He's going up against Chicago. They'll probably, win the game, and I think they'll run a lot. But, I mean, for a guy that's had troubles averaging over 3 yards a carry, I'd put a Hunt over him, just even if he gets, 4 or 5 receptions and some yardage from that.
What I like, too, about Kareem Hunt is he seems to always make plays when he has the ball rather than get stuffed for 2 yards, get stuffed for 3 yards, I mean, he's involved with the passing game a lot. Baker Mayfield likes to throw the ball to Kareem Hunt. Obviously, Nick Chubb's the guy there. He's going to get the first down, probably second down carry. Kareem Hunt will spell him at the end of the first quarter, start of the second quarter. But Kareem Hunt will get the work. He also catches passes down by the goal line. That's why I like Kareem Hunt, especially for PPR, because I think he gets a lot of receptions as a running back, and he'll help you out in that spot. But just going back to Mike Davis worries me because it feels like ever since Atlanta lost Michael Turner, everyone's been looking for that Atlanta running back that is Michael Turner, and nothing has ever come to be. And I've fallen into that Atlanta trap too many times of grabbing the running back or the receiver and watching Matt Ryan throw interceptions in the red zone. So that's the only thing that worries me. But I do suspect that Mike Davis gets a lot of first down work, second down work. And I'm just wondering how he does with it. It'd be odd to see him not on the Bears or the Panthers, but I don't know. He's a starting guy there in Atlanta with Matt Ryan offense. So take that as you will.
And that offensive line for Atlanta isn't terrible. I mean, we saw Todd Gurley have success last year, and it sounds like a shot at Todd Gurley, and it kind of is. But, I mean, he was given like 10 yards of space, and he ran about 3 of those yards and then was tackled. But there was space there for him to run. He just couldn't run. I want to go back to Josh Jacobs for a second, because this is where I'm really freaking torn on him. And it's impossible to project because they brought in Kenyon Drake, and we have no idea what they're going to do. But in the draft kit, I have red zone touches and carries and all that. And if I remember right, Josh Jacobs had more red zone opportunities than any player in the league last year. And I do just have his carries up here. He had 65 carries in the red zone last year. He had 21 carries inside the 5-yard line. The next closest for red zone carries on the Raiders was Devontae Booker with 17. Like, it was clear Josh Jacobs was the red zone guy. He wasn't incredibly efficient, but they just kept rolling him out there, and he was the guy. And I can't imagine, again, it's Gruden, but I can't imagine he's going to make Kenyon Drake the red zone guy. So I think the Raiders have a pretty good offense. I think they're a pretty good team, and I think they're going to have plenty of scoring opportunities this year. Ravens are a little tough, but if you're saying they're going to get in close, I think they're either going to throw it to Darren Waller or they're going to run it with Josh Jacobs, and there's nothing else that they're going to do. So I think he falls into the end zone a la Todd Gurley a few times this year.
I'm just wondering how many times they make the red zone on Monday night, though, because that Ravens defense is tough.
And on top of that, too, he falls into the end zone. That's great. And I think I'm pretty much a Josh Jacobs expert because I've had him since he was a rookie, and this dude has pissed me off ever since. That's great, but there's so many games where you see Booker have like 20 carries come up the field and Josh Jacobs fallen for a 1-yard touchdown, which is just 6 points. Feels like it should be more. And he does that once, couple carries, and he finishes at like 8, and it's just so frustrating. So I can see them, like you said, I think he's a red zone guy for sure, but I just can't trust him. I can't trust Drake either, but I think Drake will get force fed so much as a receiver as well.
That's fair. Like, I need to see this play out, and I guess it could be inconsistent week to week. I do think he's still the lead guy, and I have more confidence in the Raiders, I guess, than you guys do, just because their offense has been one of the better offenses quietly in the league. It's just their defense shouldn't even be on the field. We got another question from Logan Jensen. Do you think Sony Michelle passes Daryl Henderson later in the season? You guys can go first. Trevor, what do you think?
Oh, that's tough. I don't know. I truly don't know because, I mean, we saw Akers was clearly better than everybody else, and it took him to like week 7 to get going. I'm going to say no. I mean, if it's that obvious that Cam Akers was better and he still wants Henderson, I just don't see Michelle being so much better that I can't even think of his name now. I want to say McAvoy, like Tanner McAvoy, but McVay.
McVay.
I just don't see him trusting him enough. And with Xavier Jones, I think that's enough of a cluster to just keep him there by default.
Yeah, Logan, I would refer you to our shows from last year. You can find them on YouTube where we talked about the Rams backfield. It felt like every single week. And I think we're the same answer now is that we don't know. Running backs are plentiful there in LA. I'm sure Sony Michelle will get time at one point in the season where he will have more carries than Daryl Henderson. But what he does with those carries, I don't know because I really don't think Sony Michelle's that great of a running back. He didn't prove much at New England for me. Obviously, it's New England where there's a whole other running back situation there every single year. But I think this will be a situation where they play who looks best in practice the week. And I know that sucks for fantasy. So if you can, I don't know if you've drafted or not, but I would stay away from the Rams backfield. But I think Henderson has the reins until Sony Michelle does something to give it up or to make him give it up or Henderson gives it up somehow.
Yeah, I mean, passes up Henderson is the wording. And with the Rams, it's super tough. I think Henderson's going to be given the first crack every single game that he's healthy to establish himself in the game. And I think the Rams have been pretty clear that they're going to take a hot hand approach, much like the 49ers, much like some of the other backfields we've seen. So if Henderson gets stifled right away and Sony Michelle in the second drive busts one for 65 yards or something, he's going to be the guy that game. I think there's for sure going to be games where Sony Michelle gets more carries, like you said. I think there's going to be games where Jake Funk gets the most carries. I would say, though, Daryl Henderson consistently will be the most utilized running back. I'm nervous that, again, McVay doesn't usually do this, but this would be wise for him to do. I'm nervous that they take Daryl Henderson out when they're in the red zone and use Sony Michelle to be that hammer because Henderson is so small. I mean, like barely 200 pounds, I think 5'8". So it could be a case where he's given 15 carries, gets a bunch of yards, and then Sony Michelle outscores him with 3 carries for 1 touchdown and 10 yards or something. So definitely frustrating backfield for fantasy this year. Looking at the consensus compared to my rankings, half PPR, I'm higher on Ronald Jones, who I have at 26. That's 3 spots higher. I have A.J. Dillon at 37, which is 5 spots higher. Mark Ingram, I have at 49, which is 7 spots higher. Rashad Penny, I have at 51. That's 3 spots higher. And then Tony Jones Jr., I have at 52, which is a whopping 10 spots higher than the consensus. I'll cruise through the players I like less really quick. Jonathan Taylor, I have at 9, which is 3 less. Josh Jacobs, who I said I like. I mean, I have him at 27, which is 4 spots lower than the consensus. Devin Singletary at 42, which is 3 lower. Phillip Lindsay at 54, which is 8 spots lower. Ty Johnson of the Jets at 55, which is 3 spots lower. Alexander Madison at 56, which is 3 lower. And then Carlos Hyde at 57, which is 7 spots lower. Luke, do any of those names pop out to you?
Mark Ingram is very interesting to me because the dude had 1,000 yards rushing 2 years ago. But he's getting up there in age. I think he's still got a little left in the tank. I'm wondering if, he's kind of a bigger running back. I wonder if they bring him in for the goal line, depending on how much they get there. Like we said before, this might be a poop bowl, a low-scoring game where running the ball might be at a premium. So if they do get in the red zone, I like Mark Ingram a lot to score a touchdown. I think he would be more valuable in like a touchdown-only league than a PPR league. Yeah. But that's just my thoughts. I don't know. Running backs are always tough to me week 1 because they're supposed to be the guys who are going to carry the teams, and it's tough to predict how scores are going to go. But Mark Ingram was the only one who jumped out to me. I can see him scoring this week. I like it, especially as a maybe if you are PPR, maybe running back 3 or something just to grab a touchdown from him.
For me, none of those guys really jump out at all. I mean, I'm just going to keep it short and sweet.
Mark Ingram was I had the same thought process as you, Luke, and clearly my love for Mark Ingram, I guess, coincides with me being super low on Phillip Lindsay there. David Johnson's going to have a reduced role, but I do think he's still the lead back.
Yeah.
But I think he's inefficient in short yardage situations, which I think is the only thing Mark Ingram can do. And I think he does probably score. If they get in close, there's no reason for them to roll out Phillip Lindsay or David Johnson. So he's going to be the vulture this year for sure.
Remember when David Johnson was the number 1 pick in drafts? That was a fun time. That was only 4 years ago too. That's a little scary, but
remember when he was traded for DeAndre Hopkins? That was even less ago. I will say about Jonathan Taylor, just because I am lower on him, I just think Marlon Mack's going to get carries. I don't think he's going to be ignored. I think that offensive line is suspect. They have no answer at left tackle. And Colts play the Seahawks, who I think are fine. I don't think they're amazing, but I think they're fine. I think Russell Wilson usually has a good start to every season. He may come out and ball out, and the Colts may be chasing points. And if that's the case, I think it's going to be the Nyheim Hines show. So that's what makes me a little nervous on Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, too, that offensive line is not, everyone's saying it's the greatest offensive line of all time, stuff like this. There's holes there. I think Jonathan Taylor got put into a really good spot last year as a rookie when that offensive line was very healthy. That's not the case this year, and I know a lot of people are high on Jonathan Taylor just off of last year. He's a young guy, he can run. But I think people need to get off that offensive line thing because it's not what everyone thinks it's supposed to be.
Jonathan Taylor kind of reminds me of Melvin Gordon when he first hit the league for fantasy-wise. Melvin Gordon was a fantastic running back. It wasn't because he was that good. It's just because he got into the end zone a lot. You look at the stats, rushing yards, he wasn't that good. Yards per carry, he wasn't that good. The passing game, until everybody got hurt, wasn't that good. He was great in college, but I don't know. He's going to have plenty of touches. He's got a good offensive line, so obviously he's not going to be a bust. He'll be a good back, but I just see him kind of having a Melvin Gordon-like season where do you really, trust this guy? He seems like more of a boomer bust than, a consistent plug and keep there.
I think I'm a little higher on him, but Marlon Mack was a 1,000-yard guy a couple seasons ago. Yeah. I don't know how healthy he truly is or how much they really want to pile carries onto him. But I think it takes a really specific game script for Jonathan Taylor to have a massive game now. And much like Melvin Gordon, like you said, if he's not super efficient and he needs to have 25 carries, and I don't think it's going to happen. Anthony Costanzo at left tackle retired. They traded for Eric Fisher to replace him. He's not healthy yet. Then they brought in Tezzy or something, and I think he is out for the year now as well, or he's at least hurt. So I think they're on their 3rd string left tackle, and Carson Wentz is the quarterback, and Michael Pittman's the wide receiver 1 with Harris Campbell as the wide receiver 2. So I don't like the Colts. It's
Agreed.
Not hard to figure out.
That just talking about Melvin Gordon there, just real quick, brought up a question in my mind. When do you think? When do you guys think Javonte Williams passes Melvin Gordon for lead back duties?
Everyone's thinking right away. I think it's still going to be Melvin Gordon getting the first crack at it to start. People are freaking out because Vic Fangio said this week that they have full trust in Javonte Williams. And I would say, what's he supposed to say? Is he supposed to say, no, I don't trust this guy. We're going to keep him off the field as long as possible? That's not going to happen. But I think Melvin Gordon's going to be given the carries to start the game, just like we talked about the Rams. Just because of his inefficient play, I think it's going to be maybe 55 to 45 Williams, maybe by the bye week, which is probably week, 8 or 9,
Yeah.
Can we talk about how Melvin Gordon, everybody talks about Le'Veon Bell and his holdout. Melvin Gordon's was way worse than that, and it's not close.
Right.
At least Le'Veon Bell got paid. Melvin Gordon lost, didn't get paid, came back, was outplayed, and has been nothing since. which is interesting because if he was still on that team, that would work really well because Eckler's never healthy, and when he is, he's better than Gordon. So that might have been the worst contract holdout I've seen in a while.
For everybody. Because, to your point, they didn't pay Melvin Gordon. And they're like, screw you, you're gone. And then he goes to Denver and doesn't play well. And they're like, because we got Austin Eckler. Then they pay him, and then he's hurt. They're like, shit. So, nobody won. It's just a clusterfuck all around.
A guy I kind of want to bring up is Myles Gaskin at 25. I was high on him all last year. I just don't understand why it seems like Miami's getting cute with their backfield. Like he was not, a Dalvin Cook guy, but he scored double digits the last 5 games. One of the games he only had 7 carries, still scored 15 points and half PPR, and they're coming in. He's clearly the best. They're a lot better when he's on the field than not, and they're still saying I guess we guess he won the number 1 job. It just doesn't make sense to me. So that'll be an interesting thing with Malcolm Brown and Salvin Ahmed there. Unfortunately, I think he's like a worse version of Josh Jacobs in that, will he get enough carries that he should?
I don't like him this week, but I kind of disagree. I think them not drafting a running back sort of doubles down on their confidence of him. And I think he looked good last year. I think everyone is still doubting him, like outside the building. I feel like inside they must have confidence in him. And I think, again, he might be one of the true bell cow running backs, which is weird. We'll see what they do with Malcolm Brown there. I'm not too worried about Ahmed, to be completely honest. But, Myles Gaskin, I think he's going to have a really solid year. He's probably going to float around RB2 flex the entire year. My worry this week is New England's defensive scheme always is to take away what you're best at and then beat us with your lesser weapons. I'm worried they take away the running game and force Tua to beat them. Like, to me, that makes the most sense just because there's question marks about Tua. And if that's the case, obviously Gaskin sucks and Tua doesn't have Will Fuller to throw to yet. So that could be interesting to see.
See, you're playing checkers. The Patriots are playing chess. The Patriots got Will Fuller suspended. They already did it last year. So they already took the best player out of the game. So now they're going to take the second best player as well.
Just to go off of that, I'm excited to see what Brian Flores does this year at the Dolphins, to go along with my theory that Bill Belichick pays former coaches to be bad on purpose.
For real. And they please cut Van Noy so you can come back and improve our defense and shit like that. Yeah, I don't get it. Moving on to wide receivers here. Number 1 is no surprise, Devontae Adams in the neutral site against the Saints. Tyreek Hill at home against the Browns is 2. I have Calvin Ridley at 3 versus the Eagles. 4 is DeAndre Hopkins at the Titans, and 5 is Stephon Diggs in that matchup with the Steelers. Luke, what do you think about those 5?
Everyone knows my thoughts on Devontae Adams and Tyreek Hill. If it was my world, I'd put him 1-2 every single week, but maybe there's a little bias there. Calvin Ridley is very interesting at 3 because obviously he's not as good as DeAndre Hopkins or Stephon Diggs, but he has the matchup where, he can be the number 1 guy this week. Julio Jones is out of town. Kyle Pitts is there, so that screams he's eating up the middle of the field, which means Kyle Pitts is going to have the sideline to himself. Or Calvin Ridley, I'm sorry, is going to have the sideline to himself. And that seems like Matt Ryan throwing a couple bombs a game. Maybe this week, Eagles are, whatever they do on defense, I don't think they can do much to stop Calvin Ridley down the sideline on goes, curls, out routes, whatever. So I do agree that Calvin Ridley has a big game this week.
Yeah, I mean, the top 4, I think, is not debatable. I think an argument could be made for Diggs versus Jefferson just because Cincinnati is bad. But on the flip side of that, Cincinnati is so bad that might hurt Justin Jefferson. So, I think you could squabble over 5 and 6 there. But like Luke said, and I'm not even biased towards Hill. Adams and Hill are the clear 1 and 2. It's not close.
I'm happy you brought up Ridley because I need to dive into the Eagles defense a little bit more before the matchup. I want to know what they're going to do with Darius Slay. Like, if he's going to shadow Ridley, then I'm going to move him down. but that means I really love Russell Gage, who I think I'm higher on anyways in the consensus. And, the guy who's been discounted all offseason. And Kyle Pitts. I don't think the Eagles have anyone to hang with Kyle Pitts. But, yeah, if Darius Slay travels with Ridley, I think Ridley's going to get his a little bit, but I don't think he's going to be wide receiver 3.
I think that Ridley's the guy in this offense, too, where, every offense is a player where you have to get the ball to that guy. And Calvin Ridley is that guy, so I think he does see enough volume to produce a good fantasy day.
You should let me know before game time because I have a very interesting flex thing, especially with Eckler now in a lot of my leagues. And I've been wondering, Gage and or Robinson versus the Rams and or a lot of problems there. So, just send me a text like, hey, you up? Start Russell Gage. And then that's good enough.
Let me look up the report.
You have to send you up though with just like the letter U.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah. I'm higher in Russell Gage than the consensus, but not by as much as I thought. I have him at wide receiver 48. Consensus is 52. If Ridley is shadowed, I don't think it's obnoxious to say I would put him close to wide receiver 30, which is a massive jump. And that would mean that I like him like 20 more than the consensus. But it's like the Cole Beasley effect last year or the Russell Gage effect where everyone kept ranking him in the 50s and they were like wide receiver 28 every week.
So let me know. Text me.
Yeah.
Don't forget the you up part. Otherwise I'm not gonna read it.
But only send it at like 2 a.m.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But okay, just to talk about Russell Gage for a minute. I know last year I want to say around week 3, I was really high on him, and I don't remember why. Maybe Julio Jones is hurt or something. Yeah. But Julio Jones is not there anymore. And so I think a lot of people were high on Russell Gage last year. And I think that this is what they were high on for what he is now compared to what he was then. Because he has that position as a wide receiver 2 now.
I agree. And like there's always that, like the Corey Davis thing, like I talked about this year, like Corey Davis, super good last year. He becomes the number 1. Is that an upgrade? I think no, because he gets tougher coverage. With Russell Gage, Julio's gone, so maybe he gets tougher coverage. But then Kyle Pitts comes in. Kyle Pitts is not Julio Jones, but he is a mismatched nightmare in the same kind of way that Julio Jones is, because you can't put a safety on him. If you put a linebacker on him, he's too fast. So the defense is still paying just as much of attention and keying on Kyle Pitts, where Russell Gage is still going to be forgotten about by everybody. And clearly Matt Ryan likes him. So, yeah, I like him quite a bit. I really think this is going to be a shootout game.
Yeah, I think
the more I look at it.
I think Russell Gage is a steal for DFS this week.
Yes. Yeah.
Great. Now I have to think about Russell Gage now in my flex. Thank you, guys. I thought I had it down to 2. No, it's back to 3. So
he's
fun of fantasy.
I'm just going to start talking about who I like more and less to move this along. I have DJ Moore at 15, which is 3 higher. Jesus. Adam Thielen at 17, which is 3 higher. Deandre Johnson, who I talked about earlier, I have him at 18, which is 5 spots higher. And I think that's the highest the consensus is on a Steelers receiver, which is wild to me. I have Brandon Cooks at 30, 3 higher. Cortland Sutton at 33, that's 3 higher. Laviska Shenault, he's the slot for the Jaguars. He has been Trevor Lawrence's go-to weapon in the preseason. I'm at 34, which is 4 higher. This is one where people just are sleeping, I guess. I don't know. Marquez Callaway, I have at 40. He's been the guy who's been connected with Jameis Winston. He's been the deep threat. He's going to be the wide receiver 1. I have him 11 spots higher than the consensus, and it's just wide receiver 40, so that makes no sense. I don't think Jair Alexander is going to travel with him. So listen to the Lombardi Sweep show after this. You can hear about Kevin King starting at cornerback 2 and then move Callaway up your rankings. Zooming through these, Marquis Brown, I have at 41, 4 higher. Devontae Parker, 45, 4 higher. Cole Beasley, let's just pick up where we left off last year. I have him at wide receiver 49. I think that's too low. I'm 8 spots higher than the consensus on him. And then just other guys I like, Jalen Reagor, Darius Slayton, Gabriel Davis with the Bills, Zach Pascal with the Colts. T.Y. Hilton's out. I think he's sneaky for DFS. And then Jamison Crowder, if he plays. That's sounding questionable now. Do any of those guys jump out?
Marquis Brown jumps out to me. Love the guy. Love the speed. Was he a rookie last year or 2 years ago?
2 years.
And he had that huge game, right? First week?
Yeah.
Dolphins, maybe? Mm-hmm. But I think he's the guy. Who knows what Mark Andrews is going to do. We all know that Baltimore wants to run the ball. What does running the ball do? It sets up the long ball. And I don't know, other than maybe Tyreek Hill, if there's a player who can run as much as, Marquise Brown can. I think he's a good player. I think he's still a developing player, but I think he can be a big part of this Ravens offense. And I wouldn't be surprised if they test him out with a couple things Monday night.
The only thing for me, I don't know if I trust Lamar Jackson to get it there. Not at least not consistently enough. And if there is one or two shots, you kind of need to hit it that one or two times. But right. For where he's ranked, it's worth a shot.
Just talking about big plays, there's no defense you want to hit a big play against more than the Raiders. They give up the most big plays, it seems like, every single year. I know it's a different defense. I know it's a different coordinator, different scheme. It doesn't seem to matter. It seems like Gruden just, like the play sheets for the defense is drawn up in crayon pregame by whoever he picks. I think it's Marinelli there right now. He sucks. It's going to be a bad defense again. Casey Hayward's there. I just found that out today, which is sad for me and probably sad for him as well. They might be a little bit better, but it's Monday Night Football. Lamar Jackson's going to hit a big play.
Unless he has to poop.
True. Then he'll poop. Then he'll have a big play.
Right.
Justin on YouTube, Jonathan Taylor or James Robinson. I had them 9 and 10 in my rankings, so I'm going to bow out of this one. What do you guys think?
I'll say both of them. You probably drafted both of them in the top 4 rounds, so you should be playing both of them unless you somehow got Christian McCaffrey and Chris Carson or something like that. But I think both of them, if we got to pick one, I'm higher on James Robinson. I think he gets more of a workload, the bell cow guy. I think he gets some passes down to the red zone. I can see receiving touchdown for him, where I can only see a short rushing touchdown for Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah, take our opinions a lot more heavily than you usually would, which is at all, at least for me. James Robinson, we're Wisconsin fans. We love Jonathan Taylor, but at the end of the day, James Robinson was super consistent. Jonathan Taylor barely ran for over 100 yards, and he had a game where he had 270 alone. That scares me a lot.
There's also no game script where James Robinson's ruled out, he has to be used. And like we said, it could be a Nyheim Hines game if the Colts get down, and that would suck. So if you have to decide between the two, I guess I would go James Robinson. That is close, though.
But I think if you can play them both, play them both.
Yeah, for sure. Wide receivers I dislike more than the consensus. Tyler Lockett, I'm 3 lower. Allen Robinson, 5 lower, which is sad for me. Cooper Kupp, I have a 22. That's 3 lower. Chase Claypool, 3 lower. Devontae Smith, Corey Davis, Marvin Jones, all 3 lower. Mike Williams, I have at wide receiver 50. That's 4 lower. Gallup, I have at 52, which is 8 lower. I'm not sure where the Michael Gallup love is coming from, but have fun with that. Jalen Waddle, I'm 5 lower. Terrace Marshall, I'm 3 lower. And then Curtis Samuel, I'm way lower on, but that's because he had a hamstring tweak again today. Sounds like he's not going to play.
Welcome to the best
What
day
do you do?
Draft day.
Sorry.
Anything to say about those wide receivers?
I assume you have Allen Robinson low because he's going to be shadowed by Jalen Ramsey.
Yeah, and I don't think the Bears' offensive line is any good. So I think Aaron Donald may eat Andy Dalton's face. So that wouldn't go well.
Yeah.
I don't have anything on those guys, but I certainly have somebody that intrigues me when we get there.
You tight end or what?
Wide receiver.
Talk about it.
MVS. I've been your biggest fan since February, I think. I think that's when I finally made the move. He's ranked at 70. We'll get into it more later. I might as well just talk about it, though. I can see him having one big play over the top that he catches at least against the Saints. I think he's, I don't want to say shoo-in, but I feel pretty confident he can get a game with, 75 plus receiving yards and a touchdown, just because one of those plays is going to be for like 60 against the Saints defense. Their number 2 cornerbacks are pathetic, to say the least, just kind of like the Packers. So if he's going to be open, if he catches it, that one catch is going to vault him way up that list.
And Matt LaFleur has been pumping him up a lot lately. So wouldn't be surprising if they try to feed him early, try to build that confidence early. So fully get it. I think there's just as much of a probability that he finishes top 20 as there is that he's under 80, Any other wide receivers here?
I'll get to one when we get our guarantees going.
Yeah, tight end here. Travis Kelce 1, not surprising. I have George Kittle at the Lions at 2. Darren Waller versus the Ravens 3. Mark Andrews at the Raiders 4. Then Kyle Pitts versus the Eagles at 5. What do you guys think about those 5?
I'll start. I know Trevor doesn't really like to talk about tight ends in fantasy football. So just similar to what I've been saying, these are seems like the 5 best, definitely the 3 best are number 1, 2, and 3. Travis Kelce is always going to get the work. George Kittle, I'm very interested on this year. San Francisco's got a very interesting receiving core to me. I think Brandon Ayuk's a stud. I think Deebo Samuel's a stud too. And I think George Kittle's a stud. So I'm wondering if that evens out or whatever. But Jimmy Garoppolo is not going to take many chances, which seems like George Kittle over the middle is going to be dumping it down all day. I think last year he didn't have like that 15 reception, 200-yard game or something. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a couple of those this year from George Kittle.
My thoughts are it's about damn time I actually care about tight ends because they were so pathetic last year. Just because I hate him, I just want to shout out Mark Andrews. He did not deserve that money. I can see him, as bad as Las Vegas is being, I can see it kind of being a subpar week because I think I'm a little higher on some of these tight ends this week. But other than that, I mean, you can't deny it, especially with Kyle Pitts, even in his first game. I mean, that athleticism, I don't know who matches that in Philly.
Do you hate Mark Andrews because he's a diabetic? Or what is it?
If you want to pay me into that corner, I'll double down. That's fine. I've never had problems being the asshole. But I think I did not like him because I think he's really overrated. And I saw that contract. I'm like, I hope he falls flat on his face. Like, I hope he doesn't get hurt, but he's already got his money. So, if he does terrible, nobody gets hurt. So,
I mean, I wrote that massive article last year about why Mark Andrews is overrated. So, I can't disagree with you. I just think, roll. There's no arguing against roll. Yeah, tight ends are pretty uninteresting, especially after the top 3. You're searching for a touchdown for the most part. So TJ Hawkinson will probably make some people mad that he's 6. I just don't want to play him against the 49ers. Looking at the consensus, I'm not too different. I have Robert Tonyan at 8. That's 2 spots higher. I have Jared Cook at 18. That's 2 spots higher. I have Eric Ebron at 20. That's 3 higher. And then Noah Fant at 10. That's 2 lower. Do any of those make you angry or anything?
I think we talked about him every single week last week, but Jared Cook, obviously he's a former Packer, so I think we all have a special spot in our heart for him. But he's just gonna slide right into that Hunter Henry role at the Chargers. Yep. He's gonna be that huge guy over the middle for Justin Herbert to hit. I wouldn't be surprised if he picks up 50 yards and a touchdown this week.
That's fair. If especially I hate Mike Williams. So who else is he going to pass to other than Keenan Allen, especially if Austin Eckler doesn't play?
Right.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. If Eckler doesn't play, he's going to be money. And they're probably going to hound Keenan Allen, so he's literally your only target now, unless you think Jalen Guyton's going to get 200 receiving yards and 3 touchdowns.
Right. Jared Cook is definitely being slept on, and he's probably on waivers right now. So if you're really struggling at tight end, maybe pick him up, but probably don't need to. We don't need to talk about defenses or kickers. Go to flurrysports.org to check those out. And each week, each of us are going to be giving a guarantee. We will be keeping track to see who prevails. Maybe we'll do a prize or a punishment at the end of the year. Luke, you were the one giving guarantees last year. How about you start while I figure out what mine is?
Okay, I'm just going to pose a question to you guys right away before I talk about it. I kind of alluded to there with the receiver, but when you hear doing well in fantasy week 1, who do you think
of? Lamar Jackson.
Oh, shit. No. I was muted 3 times. Ryan Fitzpatrick.
No. Sammy Watkins.
True.
Sammy Watkins is my guy this week. What I said about Marquis Brown, I think it fits the same with Sammy Watkins. Seems like every single week the guy comes out and has, 3 touchdowns week 1. I'm gonna ride that train. I don't think the matchup is a problem. I think the Ravens might need to pass a little bit to keep up with Vegas's offense. So I think Sammy Watkins, I'll think goes for 125 plus and a touchdown this week. He's out there. He makes plays week 1. Everyone goes to pick him up, and you never hear from him again for the rest of the year. And I don't know why that trend differs this year.
That's fair. You're not wrong. That has happened every year. So that's fair.
Well, I got to be a little more bold then. So I'll say instead of 75, I say MVS gets 100 and a touchdown. Which, to be fair, he literally has only shown his ability to be a good long ball threat. So 100 yards is a lot, even if he gets a 70-yard catch. But like I said, that over the top with the Saints, if you think it's bold enough, I think MVS 100 and a touchdown.
I think that's fair. We're going super bold. Okay. I will go bold and say, but tell me if this is bold, I guess. Is Miles Sanders 100 yards and a touchdown bold?
I think so.
Atlanta? Total or on the ground?
I was thinking total, but you can do whatever you want. I don't care.
I like it.
Sure. I'm not going to be that guy.
I think he's probably projected for 65 or so. So, I don't know.
Especially what we were talking about with his workload and everything.
That's true.
Yeah, I have no idea what they're going to do. Okay, so those are our 3 guarantees. We'll check back next week. Keep track all season long. One last quick question. Need some flex help, gents. Full PPR. I think we're choosing just one, so buckle up here. Daryl Henderson, Juju Smith-Schuster, Myles Gaskin, Jerry Jeudy, James Conner, or Kenny Golladay. One PPR flex. And for me, I think it's Daryl Henderson.
Just looking at the list, I think you can throw out James Conner because I think he sucks at football. But I think Juju Smith-Schuster is my guy. We talked about Ben Roethlisberger slinging the rock. Juju Smith-Schuster is going to be the guy in the middle who's going to sling the rock too.
I'm going to have to go Jerry Jeudy. I think he catches a lot of underneath stuff. That's what Teddy's best at. They're playing the Giants, correct?
Yeah.
No. Okay, yeah. The Giants don't scare me at all. And I think that PPR, every catch counts way more than it should. And so guess what? If he gets 5 catches underneath for 25 yards, even that garbage is 7 points for you. And I think he does better than that. So I think Jeudy, especially since Sutton's coming back from a torn ACL, something in his knee. So I don't know if I trust that 100% and Bridgewater finding him deep at all.
So Trey, we tried to help you out here. We narrowed it down to 3 for you.
He said, does it change your opinion if Robert Woods is my wide receiver 2? I need a tiebreaker. Does not change my opinion. Woods is locked.
Well, it might.
Why would that change your opinion?
It might. I don't know. I'm okay. Maybe I'm trying to think it too deep. But if you have Woods, I mean, I wouldn't stay on Henderson, because then if the Rams have a shit game, then you have two guys down the shitter instead of one.
Are we pretending it's the Bears defense from 3 years ago, or are you pretending it's the Bears defense that's on the field this week?
Are we pretending it's a Sean McVay that took him to the Super Bowl, or are we pretending it's a Sean McVay that overthinks everything? That's what I'll throw back at you.
Motherfucker. He changed my opinion on Henderson. Henderson's the lead back. Sony Michelle's barely learned the offense. He's still struggling with that. The Rams' offensive line's very good. We've seen the Bears get ran over constantly last season, and now the Rams were running over everybody constantly last season. Bring in Matthew Stafford, who's a competent quarterback, space the defense out. They're going to be running spread. Tyler Higbee's in a tight end. He's a good blocker. He's going to be getting a lot of yards. He's going to be getting a lot of touches. I think there's a decent chance he gets like 15 PPR points without a touchdown.
Sorry, Zach. I just want to clarify something that Trevor said. He said Sean McVay's brought him to the Super Bowl, but I think Todd Gurley brought him to the Super Bowl.
Actually, I misspoke. The zebra who decided, that body slam that you did before the ball got there, play on. I missed that. Andrew Brees, we forget about him. He played like a bad version of Jay Cutler. So,
as bringing them to the Super Bowl, do you mean Todd Gurley drove the bus, or what are you talking about?
I mean, him and Jared Goff together as a team brought them.
What a duo.
So what he means by that is Gurley was driving, but Goff was on his lap, like that little kid that you let pretend is driving. That's what he means.
I think he was probably on his lap facing him, so he's like straddling him the whole time.
I will say that it might be time to retire my Jared Goff narrative of him having the second most wins since 2017, because he might not get 3 this year.
Have you seen their schedule?
Yeah.
It is, yeah. Okay. He's going to get murdered, so. Wish you the best, Jared Goff.
One final thing, just Trey, I was just joking. But I think, like we were talking about Gaskin getting game planned out, I think Judy still has to fight for that role a little bit. Like, I don't know what that role is going to be, because I think Sutton's a stud. If you're going highest floor, like if you feel really good about your team and you just want somebody to get you a decent game, I think Juju's probably the safest in PPR. I think he has guaranteed touches. I think the Bills slot's not going to do anything crazy. I just don't think he scores. And yeah, so I personally feel like Henderson or James Conner has the highest ceiling. Juju, I think, has the highest floor, if that helps.
Juju 3 touchdowns confirmed.
Probably. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, let's get out of here. If you just want to keep listening to our voices, we'll be back talking about the Packers with a different podcast in a second. But until then, see you later.
Peace.